Welcome to the highest graveyard on Earth. With an average yearly death toll of 3.2, Mount Everest had its deadliest year of all time in 2023, with 17 lives lost on its slopes. Rising to an incredible 29,032 feet above sea level, Everest is a place of legend. Known to the local Sherpa people as Chomolungma, or Goddess of the Sky, the summit has long captivated adventurers and explorers around the world. Since the first recorded summit by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay in 1953, thousands of climbers have followed in their footsteps, but standing on the top of the world comes at a deadly cost. So far, it's estimated that 330 people have died trying to reach the summit, and of those, more than 200 bodies still remain on the mountain today, silent sentinels, frozen in time. The treacherous journey to the summit of Mount Everest begins at base camp, sitting at 17,600 feet, where climbers can spend up to weeks acclimatizing to the altitude. After leaving base camp, the first major challenge is the Khumbu Icefall. This section is a constantly shifting glacier, full of deep crevasses, towering ice blocks, and unpredictable avalanches. Climbers must cross the glacier via a combination of ladders and ropes, making the icefall one of the most dangerous sections of the ascent. After crossing, climbers reach Camp 1 at 19,900 feet. This is the first stop in a flat glacial valley. From here, climbers continue to acclimatize while preparing for the next leg of the journey. Camp 2 sits at 21,300 feet and is the main base for climbers before attempting the higher camps. Here, supplies are stocked and the climbers rest while preparing for the grueling push higher up the mountain. Perched on the steep slopes of the Lhotse face, Camp 3 requires climbers to use fixed ropes to ascend. Sitting at 23,600 feet, oxygen levels are extremely low here, and campers often start using supplemental oxygen at this point. The climb up the Lhotse face is exhausting, with climbers tackling ice walls and exposed terrain. Finally, Camp 4 is the last stop before the summit push. It sits in the infamous death zone, above 26,000 feet, where oxygen levels are so low that the human body can no longer function properly. Climbers rest here briefly, but long stays are not possible as the body begins to deteriorate. The next move is the summit attempt. Climbers typically leave Camp 4 late at night to make the final push to the summit. The route takes them through a small plateau and then up to the south summit. From there, they must navigate the narrow and perilous Hillary Step, a near-vertical rock face just below the summit. After passing this, climbers ascend to the final ridge and the top of the world. At 29,032 feet, the summit of Everest offers breathtaking views and the culmination of months of preparation. But the joy is short-lived. Climbers can only spend a few minutes here due to extreme conditions, before beginning the equally dangerous descent back to Camp 4. Along this journey, both ascending and descending Everest, a simple mistake can lead to disaster. Exhaustion, altitude sickness, sudden avalanches, and deadly ice falls all claim lives each year. But what's more haunting is the fact that many victims of the mountain are never recovered. The altitude, the hostile environment, and the overall costs of retrieval makes recovering the bodies nearly impossible. Among the hundreds of bodies that remain on Everest, some have become infamous markers on the mountain's treacherous paths. Perhaps the most well-known of these is a climber known as Green Boots. Believed to be Indian mountaineer Tsewang Paljor, Green Boots perished in 1996 during a deadly blizzard that claimed several other lives. His body, frozen in a crouched position inside a small limestone cave at 27,900 feet, has become a tragic landmark on the northeast ridge. For years, climbers have passed by Green Boots, known for his brightly coloured footwear visible from the path, reminding them of the ever-present danger that lurks on the mountain. Then there's the tragic story of David Sharp, a British climber who attempted a solo summit in 2006. Sharp reached the summit, but became incapacitated on his descent, likely due to extreme exhaustion and frostbite. Shockingly, over 40 climbers passed by him as he sat motionless, unable to move, in the very same cave where Green Boots rests. Some climbers assumed he was already dead. Others, too focused on their own summit attempts, did little to help. Sharp ultimately froze to death, and his body remained in that same spot for years. Finally, there's the legendary story of George Mallory, Mallory was part of the earliest British expeditions to summit Everest. When famously asked why he wanted to climb the highest mountain on Earth, he simply replied, "Because it's there." In 1924, he and his climbing partner Andrew "Sandy" Irvine attempted to reach the summit. They were last seen alive near the peak before disappearing into the mist. For decades, their fate remained a mystery, until 75 years later, in 1999, when Mallory's body was discovered at 26,760 feet. His frozen remains were almost perfectly preserved by the icy conditions. Whether he had made it to the summit before his death remains one of the great mysteries of mountaineering. Mount Everest is the ultimate test of human endurance and ambition, but it is also a place of death and tragedy. The bodies left on Everest are more than just frozen relics. They are a stark reminder of the deadly risks climbers face in pursuit of their dream. Each of these stories adds to Everest's chilling reputation as not just the highest point on Earth, but also the highest graveyard. For those who seek to conquer the mountain, the challenge is more than just the climb. It's a race against time, the elements, and the mountain itself. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep questioning the past to understand the present. See you in the next rewind.